The small cargo ship floated quietly through the darkness of space. Its name was the Messenger, and it looked old and slow. Paint was peeling off its metal body. The engines made soft humming sounds. Anyone looking at it would think it was just another weak human ship carrying boxes from one planet to another. Inside the ship, Captain Sarah Chin sat in her command chair. She was a tall woman with short black hair and calm eyes. Around her, 12 crew members worked at their stations. Some checked the navigation screens. Others monitored the engine levels. Everything seemed normal and peaceful. "Captain, we are 3 hours from the medical station," said Officer James from his seat. He was young, maybe 25 years old. "The supplies will arrive on time." Sarah nodded slowly. "Good. Keep our speed steady. No need to rush." But her fingers tapped quietly on the arm of her chair. Tap, tap, tap. She was waiting for something. Suddenly the lights on the bridge turned red. A loud alarm filled the air. Beep, beep, beep. "Captain!" shouted Officer Maria from the scanner station. Her face went white. "Ships. 50 ships just appeared around us." On the main screen, dark shadows appeared in space. One by one, massive warships became visible. They were 3 times bigger than the Messenger. Their hulls were black with green lights. Weapons pointed at the small human cargo ship from every direction. The crew froze. Some gasped. Others grabbed their chairs. "Zauran Empire ships," whispered James. His voice shook. "We're surrounded." Sarah stood up slowly from her chair. She walked to the main screen and stared at the alien warships. Her face showed no fear. No panic. Just calm. "Captain, what do we do?" asked Maria. "We have no weapons. We can't fight them." Before Sarah could answer, the main screen changed. A face appeared. It was not human. The creature had gray skin, 4 eyes, and a mouth full of sharp teeth. It smiled, showing all those teeth. This was Commander Zrak of the Zauran Empire. "Human ship." Zrak's voice was deep and rough. He laughed. "You are so small. So weak. Look around you. 50 of my warships. 1 of your cargo ships." He laughed again, louder this time. Behind him, other Zauran soldiers laughed too. "You humans," Zrak continued, "you are the weakest species in the galaxy. You travel in slow ships. You carry medicine and food. You have no weapons. You are like insects." Sarah crossed her arms. She did not look scared. She looked bored. "Do you have a point, Commander?" she asked. Her voice was cold and steady. Zrak stopped laughing. His 4 eyes narrowed. "My point is simple, human. Surrender now. Give us your ship. Give us your supplies. And maybe we let you live." The crew looked at Sarah, waiting for orders. Some had tears in their eyes. They thought they were going to die today. But Sarah did something strange. She smiled. Not a scared smile. Not a nervous smile. A real, genuine smile. "Officer Rodriguez," she said calmly to a young man at the communication station. "Send the signal." Rodriguez looked confused for a second. Then his eyes went wide. He understood. His fingers moved quickly across his keyboard. "Signal sent, Captain," he said. And then he smiled too. On the screen, Zrak saw a small data transmission leave the Messenger. It shot out into deep space like a tiny light. Zrak laughed even harder now. "A distress call? You are calling for help?" He could barely breathe from laughing. "Human, no one will come in time. You will be dead in 5 minutes. Or you will be our prisoners. Your choice." Sarah took 1 step closer to the screen. Her smile grew bigger. "I'm not calling for help, Commander Zrak," she said slowly. "I'm calling off the dogs." Zrak's laughter stopped. His face changed. Confusion replaced the cruel smile. "Dogs? What dogs?" He looked at his scanner officer. "Are there more ships?" The Zauran officer checked his screens quickly. "No, sir. Our scanners show nothing. Space is empty except for us and the human ship." Zrak turned back to Sarah. "You're lying, human. There's nothing out there. Nothing." Sarah's smile became something different now. Something dangerous. Something that made even Commander Zrak feel uncomfortable. "Exactly, Commander," she said quietly. "There's nothing out there. That's exactly what we wanted you to think." The crew of the Messenger straightened in their chairs. Fear left their faces. Now they looked proud. Confident. "You made a mistake today, Zrak," Sarah continued. She walked closer to the screen until her face filled it. "You thought humans travel alone. You thought silence means emptiness. But most of all..." She paused. The silence felt heavy. "You forgot that humans don't just fight back. We finish it." Zrak's 4 eyes went wide. What are you? Suddenly, every alarm on every Zauran ship started screaming at once. SIR, yelled Zrak's scanner officer. Contacts. Multiple contacts. They're appearing everywhere. On the messenger's bridge, Sarah returned to her command chair. She sat down slowly, like a queen on her throne. 3, she said. Captain, what's happening? Zrak shouted. His voice wasn't confident anymore. It was scared. 2, Sarah continued counting. All around the alien fleet, space itself seemed to wake up. The darkness began to glow. 1. And then space exploded with light. 200 warships appeared from nowhere. Massive human battleships, twice the size of the Zauran vessels. They had been there the whole time, invisible, hidden by technology the aliens didn't know existed. They surrounded the Zauran fleet completely. The circle that trapped the messenger was now inside a much bigger circle. The hunters had become the hunted. On the screen, Zrak's face went from gray to white. His mouth opened but no sound came out. Sarah leaned back in her chair. Her smile was gone now. Her face was hard. Cold. Dangerous. Now, Commander Zrak, she said quietly. Let's talk about who's really the prey here. 2 weeks earlier the story was very different. Captain Sarah Chin stood in a large room on Earth. The room had no windows. Giant screens covered the walls, showing maps of space, star systems and ship positions. This was the Human Defense Command Center, hidden deep underground in Geneva, Switzerland. Around a long metal table sat 20 officers. Some were old with gray hair. Others were young but had serious faces. All of them wore dark blue military uniforms. They were Earth's best strategic minds and today they were planning something dangerous. At the head of the table stood Admiral Marcus. He was a big man, almost 60 years old with white hair and dark skin. Scars marked his face from old battles. When he spoke, everyone listened. Captain Chin, Admiral Marcus said, looking directly at Sarah. Thank you for volunteering. This mission is not easy. In fact, it might be the most dangerous thing we've ever asked someone to do. Sarah nodded. I understand, sir. Admiral Marcus pressed a button. The screens on the walls changed. Now they showed alien ships. Zauran Empire warships. Ugly, dark vessels covered in weapons. For 6 months, the Admiral began, the Zauran Empire has been testing us. They attack our small ships. They destroy cargo vessels. They kill our people. Another screen showed numbers. 15 human ships destroyed. 234 people dead. Sarah's jaw tightened. Her hands became fists. They think we're weak, continued Admiral Marcus. They look at humanity and see traitors. Scientists. Explorers. They see people who prefer peace over war. And they're right, said General Park, a Korean woman sitting near Sarah. We do prefer peace. We always have. But preferring peace doesn't mean we can't fight, Admiral Marcus said, his voice growing harder. The Zauran made a big mistake. They confused kindness with weakness. He pressed the button again. New images appeared. These showed Earth's history. Ancient human warriors. Medieval knights. World War soldiers. Modern military forces. Humans, Admiral Marcus said slowly, survived ice ages. We survived diseases that killed millions. We survived wars with ourselves. We climbed to the top of Earth's food chain not because we were the biggest or strongest. We survived because we were smart. We adapted. We planned. Everyone in the room nodded. They knew Earth's history was full of blood and survival. The Zauran think they know us, Admiral Marcus continued. They've watched us for 3 years. They see our merchant ships, our science vessels, our peaceful colonies. But they haven't seen our military. Not really. He smiled. It was not a kind smile. It's time to show them what happens when you push humans too far. Sarah leaned forward in her chair. What's the plan, sir? Admiral Marcus nodded to a young officer at a computer. Lieutenant Chin, no relation to Sarah, typed quickly. The screens changed again. Now they showed something incredible. Warships. Hundreds of them. But these ships look strange. They seem to fade in and out like ghosts. 3 years ago, Admiral Marcus explained, our scientists created something new. Project Shadow. These are stealth warships. They can become completely invisible to every scanner, radar, and detection system we know about. Gasps filled the room. Even Sarah, who thought she knew about all human military technology, looked surprised. Invisible? Asked Colonel Rodriguez, an older man from Mexico. Completely invisible? Completely, confirmed Lieutenant Chin. We tested them against our own best scanners. Nothing. They can hide in plain sight. The technology bends light and energy around the ship. To any scanner they look like empty space. Sarah stared at the screens. 200 ghost ships floating in the darkness. We've been building them in secret, Admiral Marcus said. The Zauren think we only have defense stations and a few patrol ships. They don't know about these. Nobody does. And you want to use them against the Zauren? Sarah asked. Yes. But we need the Zauren to attack first. If we strike without reason, the other alien empires will see us as aggressors. We'll be alone against the entire galaxy. General Park stood up. But if the Zauren attack one of our ships and we defend ourselves, that's different. That's justice. Admiral Marcus turned to Sarah. His eyes were serious. Captain Shin, this is where you come in. We need bait. We need a ship that looks weak and alone. A ship that the Zauren will definitely attack. Sarah understood immediately. The messenger. Yes. Your cargo ship is perfect. It's old. It looks harmless. The Zauren have been watching it for weeks. They know its route. They know it carries only medical supplies. So you want me to fly into Zauren space? Sarah said slowly, alone, looking defenseless, and wait for them to attack. Not alone, Admiral Marcus corrected. You'll have 200 stealth warships following you. Hidden. Invisible. Waiting. He walked around the table until he stood directly in front of Sarah. When the Zauren surround you, when they think they've won, you'll send a signal. One signal. And our entire fleet will reveal itself. The Zauren will find themselves trapped in our trap. The room was silent. Everyone looked at Sarah. This was dangerous. If something went wrong, if the stealth technology failed, Sarah and her crew would die. The Zauren would kill them without mercy. Captain Shin, Admiral Marcus said quietly, I won't order you to do this. This is volunteer only. If you say no, we'll find another way. But I'll be honest, you're the best captain for this job. You're calm under pressure. Your crew trusts you. And, he paused. And I know you have personal reasons to want justice against the Zauren. Sarah's face changed. Pain flashed in her eyes. Her hands became fists again. Everyone in the room knew her story. Everyone knew what the Zauren had taken from her. 6 months ago, Sarah had a younger brother. His name was David Shin. He was 23 years old, funny, kind, and full of life. He was a pilot too, flying a food transport ship to a small human colony. Zauren ships found him. They surrounded his vessel just like they'd surrounded so many others. David sent out a distress call. He begged for mercy. He told them he was only carrying food for families. He surrendered completely, powering down all his systems. The Zauren killed him anyway. They destroyed his ship and left the pieces floating in space. They did it because they could. Because they thought humans were weak and wouldn't fight back. When Sarah heard the news, she didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just became very, very quiet. And now, Admiral Marcus was offering her a chance. Not for revenge. For justice. Sarah stood up from her chair. She looked at every person in the room. Then she looked back at Admiral Marcus. I'll do it, she said. Her voice was steady and strong. I'll be your bait. I'll bring them into the trap. Admiral Marcus nodded with respect. Thank you, Captain. But I have one condition, Sarah added. Name it. When they're surrounded, when they realize they've lost, I want to be the one who speaks to them. I want them to know that they didn't just attack a random human ship. I want them to know they attacked the wrong person's sister. The room was silent again. Then Admiral Marcus extended his hand. Deal. They shook hands. The plan was set. For the next 2 weeks, Sarah and her crew prepared. The messenger was equipped with stronger shields, hidden inside its old hull. The crew was briefed on the mission. Everyone volunteered to continue, even knowing the danger. Meanwhile, 200 stealth warships moved into position. They followed the messenger like invisible guards. They practiced their attack patterns. They calibrated their weapons. And Sarah prepared herself mentally. She visited David's grave one more time. I'm going to make this right, she whispered to the gravestone. They're going to learn that humans protect their own. They're going to learn what happens when they make us angry. She stood up and walked away, ready for the most dangerous mission of her life. The trap was ready. Now they just needed the Zauren to take the bait. And 2 weeks later, Commander Zrak did exactly that. Commander Zrak stared at his scanner screen. His 4 eyes blinked rapidly. His breathing became faster. The numbers on the screen made no sense. 200 ships, he whispered. That's impossible. Around his command bridge, Zauren officers ran between stations. Alarms screamed. Red lights flashed everywhere. Panic filled the air. Sir, they're everywhere, shouted his scanner officer. They have us completely surrounded. How did they hide? Zrak demanded. Our scanners showed nothing. Nothing. On the main screen of the messenger, Sarah watched Zrak's panic with cold satisfaction. Behind her, her crew stood tall and proud. The fear was gone from their faces. Now they looked like warriors. Surprised, Commander? Sarah asked calmly. Before Zrak could answer, every screen on every Zauran ship changed. The face that appeared made Zrak's blood run cold. Admiral Marcus filled the screens. His expression was hard as stone. Behind him, the command center of Earth's military showed hundreds of officers working at their stations. This is Admiral Marcus of the Human Defense Fleet. His voice boomed through every Zauran ship. It was not a friendly voice. It was the voice of judgment. I am speaking to every Zauran vessel in this sector. You are surrounded by 200 human warships. You are outgunned. You are outmaneuvered. And you are out of time. Zrak tried to speak, but his mouth was too dry. Fear squeezed his throat. For 6 months, Admiral Marcus continued, your empire has hunted our ships. You attacked our cargo vessels. You murdered our people. You did this because you thought we were weak. The Admiral leaned forward, his eyes burning with controlled anger. You thought wrong. On Zrak's scanner, the display showed the tactical situation. It was a nightmare. 50 Zauran warships sat in a circle around the messenger. But around them, 200 human warships formed a much bigger circle. The Zauran fleet was trapped like fish in a net. How? Zrak finally managed to speak. His voice cracked. How did you hide from our scanners? Sarah's face appeared beside Admiral Marcus on the screen. You've been watching us for 3 years, Commander, she said. You studied our merchant ships, our science vessels, our peaceful colonies. But you never saw our military. You never asked what we were building in secret. You see, Zrak, Admiral Marcus added, humans learned something important in our history. We learned that the best weapon is the one your enemy doesn't know about. One of Zrak's officers, a younger Zauran named Vex, spoke up. Commander, what do we do? Should we fight? Zrak looked at his weapons display. His 50 ships had powerful weapons, yes. But 200 enemy ships? The math was simple and terrible. They would all die. No, Zrak said quietly. We can't win this fight. Actually, Sarah's voice cut through his thoughts, you already lost this fight 2 weeks ago. You just didn't know it yet. Admiral Marcus stood up from his command chair. Even through the screen, his presence felt huge and intimidating. Every ship you see around you is a Phantom-class stealth warship. They have been following Captain Chen's vessel for 14 days. You never detected them. Not once. They watched you plan this attack. They watched you move into position. They let you think you were the hunters. He paused, letting his words sink in. But you were never the hunters, Commander Zrak. You were always the prey. On another Zauran ship, Commander Vrek, Zrak's second-in-command, opened a communication channel. Human Admiral, Vrek said, trying to sound brave but failing. This is a misunderstanding. We were only following orders from our empire. We have no personal grudge against humans. A misunderstanding? Sarah's voice became sharp like a knife. Tell me, Commander Vrek, was it a misunderstanding when you destroyed the transport ship Horizon 6 months ago? Vrek's face went pale. He remembered that attack. The pilot's name was David Chin, Sarah continued. Her voice shook slightly, but not from fear. From controlled rage. He was carrying food to a colony. He surrendered. He begged for his life. Your ships killed him anyway. The Zauran bridge was silent. David Chin was my brother, Sarah said. Each word dropped like a hammer. He was 23 years old. He was kind, funny, and believed the best in people. Even aliens. Even you. Zrak closed his eyes. He remembered now. 6 months ago they had destroyed a small transport. The human pilot had begged. Zrak had given the order to fire anyway. So don't talk to me about misunderstandings, Sarah said. You knew exactly what you were doing. Admiral Marcus raised his hand. Instantly, every human warship powered up their weapons. The sound echoed through space. Red targeting lasers locked onto every Zauran vessel. Each alien ship had at least 4 human ships aiming at it. The Zauran crews could see the lasers painting their hulls. They knew what it meant. Death was one trigger pull away. Wait. Zrak shouted. Please? We can negotiate. Negotiate. Admiral Marcus repeated the word like it tasted bad. You want to negotiate now? After 6 months of murder? After 234 dead humans? We were just following orders, another Zauran officer screamed. So were the guards at every concentration camp in human history, Admiral Marcus replied coldly. Following orders is not an excuse for murder. Sarah stepped closer to her screen. Her face was calm again, but her eyes burned. You had your chance to negotiate, Commander. 6 months ago you could have talked. 3 months ago you could have stopped. 1 month ago you could have apologized. She paused. Instead you laughed at us. You called us weak. You hunted our ships for sport. You chose this. Zrak felt his hearts pounding in his chest. Zaurans had 2 hearts and both were racing with fear. Please, he begged. I have a family. My crew has families. We were wrong. We admit it. Just let us go. We'll never attack humans again. My brother had a family too, Sarah said quietly. He had parents who loved him. He had a sister who looked up to him. He had a future. You took all of that away. The silence was heavy and terrible. Admiral Marcus looked at something off-screen, then back at the Zauran fleet. You want mercy, Commander Zrak? The same mercy you showed to David Chin? To the crew of the Horizon? To the families on the Silver Star? To the miners on the Deep Fortune? He listed every ship the Zauran had destroyed. Every name. Every life. Zrak had no answer. What could he say? The Admiral was right. They had shown no mercy. Human Admiral, Vrek tried again. If you destroy us, the Zauran Empire will declare war. Thousands of ships will come. You cannot fight our entire empire. Admiral Marcus smiled. It was not a nice smile. Let them come, he said simply. Let your empire send every ship it has. We have more surprises waiting. Technologies you haven't dreamed of. Weapons you can't imagine. We've been preparing for this day for 3 years. He leaned forward. But here's what's really going to happen, Commander. You're going to go home. You're going to show your emperor this recording. You're going to tell him exactly what happened here. And you're going to explain that if the Zauran Empire ever attacks another human ship, we won't stop at 200 warships next time. You're letting us go? Zrak couldn't believe it. Some of you, Admiral Marcus corrected. Captain Chin, it's your call. These aliens killed your brother. You volunteered for this mission. You earned the right to decide their fate. All eyes turned to Sarah. On 50 Zauran ships, alien crews held their breath. Would she show mercy? Or would she order their destruction? Sarah looked at the faces on her screen. Scared Zauran soldiers. Most of them were young, probably following orders like they said. But some were veterans. Some had probably enjoyed killing humans. She thought about David. His smile. His laugh. The way he used to call her Big Sis, even though she hated it. She thought about what he would want her to do. Her finger hovered over the weapons command. The entire Zauran fleet waited for death. Sarah's finger stayed on the weapons command button. The bridge of the messenger was completely silent. Her crew watched her, waiting. On the screens, 50 Zauran ships waited for their fate. Captain Chin, Admiral Marcus said quietly. The order is yours. Sarah took a deep breath. Her eyes closed for a moment. When they opened again, they were filled with cold decision. Commander Zrak, she said, her voice steady. You asked for mercy. You asked for negotiation. But you know what? You're right. We should negotiate. Zrak's face showed confusion and hope. You'll let us go? I didn't say that, Sarah replied. I said we should negotiate. So here's my offer. Power down your weapons. All of them. Right now. And maybe, just maybe, you'll live to see your families again. Zrak nodded quickly. Yes, we will. All ships, power down weapons immediately. On the scanner displays, the Zauran ships began shutting down their weapon systems. One by one, the red lights on their hulls turned dark. But then, something happened. On the Zauran flagship, a younger officer named Krell stood up from his station. His face was angry. No. Krell shouted. Commander, we cannot surrender to these weak humans. We are Zauran warriors. We do not bow to insects. Sit down, Krell. Zrak ordered. That's an order. I will not. Krell's hands moved across his weapons console. These humans are bluffing. They won't really attack. They're too soft. Too weak. I'll show you. Krell and no. Zrak screamed. But it was too late. Krell pressed the firing button. 10 massive missiles launched from the Zauran flagship. They shot through space directly toward the messenger. On Sarah's bridge, alarms screamed instantly. Incoming missiles. Officer Maria yelled. 10 missiles. Impact in 15 seconds. Sarah's crew braced for impact. Some closed their eyes. Some grabbed their chairs. But Sarah didn't move. She just watched the screen calmly. Shields, she said quietly. Officer James pressed a button. Around the messenger, a blue energy field appeared. It glowed brightly in the darkness of space. The 10 Zauran missiles hit the shield at full speed. Boom, boom, boom. Explosions filled space with fire and light. The blasts were huge, powerful enough to destroy any normal cargo ship. But when the smoke cleared, the messenger floated exactly where it was. Not a scratch. Not even a shake. The shield had held perfectly. On the Zauran flagship, Krell's face went from angry to terrified. That's impossible. That was our most powerful missile. You idiot, Zrak whispered. You just killed us all. On the messenger's bridge, Sarah's expression changed. The calm was gone. Now her face showed pure cold anger. Admiral Marcus, she said. They fired first. Permission to return fire. Admiral Marcus nodded slowly. Permission granted. All ships weapons free. Defend Captain Chin. Sarah looked at her weapons officer. Target the ship that fired. Only that ship. Railgun full power. Targeting now, Captain, Officer Rodriguez confirmed. His hands moved quickly. Locked on. Ready to fire. Fire. The messenger's hidden railgun activated. From beneath its old hull, a massive weapon extended. It charged with blue electric energy. Then it fired. The railgun's slug moved at incredible speed. It was just a piece of metal, but it was traveling at a significant fraction of light speed. Nothing could stop it. The slug hit the Zauran flagship in 3 seconds. The impact was devastating. The front half of the Zauran ship simply exploded. Metal, fire, and bodies flew into space. Alarms screamed. Fire spread. The ship started breaking apart. No! Zrak screamed, watching his flagship die. He was on a different ship, commanding the fleet remotely. But many of his friends were on that flagship. Including Krell, who had fired the missiles. Krell died instantly when the railgun hit. Hull breach on all decks, a Zauran officer reported. The flagship is lost. Escape pods launching. Small pods shot out from the dying ship like seeds from a breaking fruit. They carried surviving Zauran crew members away from the destruction. But the battle was not over. On another Zauran ship, Commander Vrek made a terrible decision. If we're going to die anyway, he said to his crew, we die fighting. All ships attack pattern Omega. Fire everything. No, wait. Zrak tried to stop him. Stand down. That's an order. But fear and pride had taken over. Vrek's ship opened fire. Then another Zauran ship fired. Then another. Within seconds, 20 Zauran vessels were shooting at the human fleet. Missiles, plasma bolts, and laser beams filled space with deadly light. They're firing on us. Officer Maria reported. Multiple ships attacking. Admiral Marcus's voice boomed through the communications. All human ships return fire. Defend yourselves. Target their weapon systems first. And then the real battle began. 200 human warships opened fire at the same time. The sound was like thunder. The light was like 1,000 suns. Human railguns fired metal slugs at impossible speeds. Each slug hit a Zauran ship with the force of a small bomb. Hulls cracked. Engines exploded. Ships broke in half. Human missile systems launched smart missiles that could think and chase their targets. No matter how the Zauran ships turned or ran, the missiles followed. They hit with perfect accuracy. Human energy weapons fired bright blue beams that cut through Zauran shields like a knife through paper. Within the first minute, 10 Zauran ships were destroyed. Just gone. Turned into floating pieces of burning metal. Sector 7 casualties, a human commander reported. Zauran ship destroyed. No survivors. Sector 12, target eliminated. Sector 5, enemy vessel disabled and drifting. The reports came in fast. Each one was another Zauran ship destroyed or badly damaged. On Zrak's ship, panic was complete chaos. Officers ran everywhere. Screens showed ship after ship dying. We can't hit them, one officer screamed. Our weapons bounce off their shields. Turn around. Run, another shouted. We can't. They're faster. They're everywhere. Zrak watched his fleet die around him. Ships he had commanded for years. Friends he had known for decades. All dying because he had been arrogant. Because he had thought humans were weak. 3 more Zauran ships exploded in bright flowers of fire. Status report. Zrak demanded, his voice breaking. 25 ships destroyed, his second officer reported, tears in his eyes. 15 more heavily damaged. 10 trying to escape, but human ships are following them. And our enemies? 0 human ships damaged, sir. 0. Their shields are too strong. Our weapons do nothing. Zrak felt his heart's breaking. This was not a battle. This was a massacre. On the messenger, Sarah watched the destruction through her screens. She felt no joy, no satisfaction, just tired sadness. Captain, Officer James said quietly, the Zauran fleet is breaking apart. Some ships are trying to surrender. Others are trying to run. Let them run, Sarah said. Track them, but don't destroy ships that are retreating. Only fire on ships that are still attacking. Yes, Captain. But the battle continued. Some Zauran commanders refused to surrender. Pride made them keep fighting even when they knew they would lose. Commander Vrek was one of them. His ship was already damaged, leaking air and fuel, but he kept firing. I will not surrender to humans, he shouted. Fire all weapons. Ram them if we must. His ship turned toward the nearest human warship, engines at maximum power. Target the ramming ship, Admiral Marcus ordered calmly. Take out its engines. 3 human ships fired at once. Their weapons hit Vrek's engines with perfect precision. The engines exploded. The Zauran ship stopped moving instantly. It just floated there, powerless and broken. Vrek sat in his command chair, defeated. Around him his crew cried. The battle lasted 8 minutes total. When it was over, the results were clear and terrible. 35 Zauran ships destroyed. Completely gone. 10 more so badly damaged they would never fly again. Only 15 Zauran ships remained somewhat intact, and all of them were surrendering now. On the human side? 0 ships destroyed. 0 ships damaged. Not even 1 injury. It was the most one-sided space battle in galactic history. Zrak's hands shook as he looked at the numbers. His fleet had been erased. On his screen, Sarah's face appeared again. Do you understand now, Commander? She asked quietly. Do you understand what you've done? Zrak had no words. He just stared at the burning remains of his fleet. The space around the messenger looked like a graveyard. Pieces of broken Zauran ships floated everywhere. Some were still burning, fire somehow alive in the cold vacuum of space. Small explosions continued as damaged ships lost power and their systems failed. Commander Zrak sat in his command chair, staring at nothing. His 4 eyes were empty. His hands rested on the armrests, not moving. Around him, his crew worked quietly, their faces showing shock and defeat. Sir, his communications officer said softly, the humans are sending a message. Zrak didn't respond. He just kept staring. Sir, please. They want to talk. Slowly Zrak turned his head. Put it on screen. Admiral Marcus's face appeared, but he was not alone. Captain Sarah Chin stood beside him. Behind them, dozens of human officers worked at their stations, calm and professional. They looked like they had just finished a training exercise, not a real battle. Commander Zrak, Admiral Marcus began. His voice was not angry anymore. Now it sounded tired. Your fleet is destroyed. 35 ships gone. 10 more will never fly again. You have 15 ships left, all damaged, all defenseless. Zrak nodded slowly. Yes. Your weapons are useless against our shields. Your speed is nothing compared to ours. If we wanted to destroy you completely, we could do it in 2 minutes. Yes, Zrak repeated. What else could he say? It was all true. Sarah stepped forward. Her face was hard to read. Not angry, not happy. Just determined. Tell me something, Commander, she said. When you destroyed my brother's ship, did he beg? Zrak closed his eyes. He remembered that day. Yes. What did he say? He said he was only carrying food. He said he had a family waiting for him. He said humans and Zaurans could be friends if we tried. Sarah's jaw tightened. And what did you do? I gave the order to fire. Zrak's voice was barely a whisper. I laughed when his ship exploded. The bridge was silent. Even Zrak's own crew looked at him with shame. Why? Sarah asked. Why did you kill him if he surrendered? Zrak was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was full of regret. Because I thought humans were weak. I thought your kindness was weakness. I thought. He stopped, unable to continue. You thought wrong, Sarah finished for him. Yes. I thought very, very wrong. On another damaged Zauran ship, Commander Vrek was listening to the conversation. His ship was powerless, drifting in space. He opened his own communication channel. Human Admiral, Vrek said. His voice was different now. No more pride. No more arrogance. Just fear and desperation. Please, I beg you. We surrender. Completely. Totally. Just don't kill us. More Zauran commanders joined the channel. All of them saying the same thing. We surrender. Please mercy. We have families. Don't destroy us. Admiral Marcus listened to all of them. Then he looked at Sarah. Captain Chin, he said. These aliens killed your brother. They've killed hundreds of our people. They attacked us because they thought we were weak. The decision is yours. Do we show them mercy? Or do we finish this? Every eye in the human fleet turned to Sarah. On 50 Zauran ships, thousands of aliens held their breath. This was the moment. Life or death. Mercy or justice. Forgiveness or revenge. Sarah looked at the screens showing the Zauran ships. Broken. Burning. Defeated. She thought about her brother David. She thought about his smile, his jokes, his kindness. She remembered the last time she saw him. He was leaving for his transport mission. He had hugged her and said, "Don't worry, sis. I'll be back in 2 weeks. Then we'll have that dinner you keep promising me." He never came back. Sarah's hands became fists. Her nails dug into her palms. Every part of her wanted revenge. Wanted to make the Zauran feel the same pain she felt when she heard David was dead. It would be so easy. One word. One command. Fire. And all the Zauran ships would become dust. No one would blame her. No one would say it was wrong. They had attacked first. They had killed first. This was justice. Her finger moved toward the weapons command button. On Zrak's ship, the crew watched. Some closed their eyes ready for death. Others held hands. One young Zauran officer whispered prayers to his gods. Zrak just sat there waiting. He knew he deserved this. He had given no mercy. Why should he receive any? Sarah's finger touched the button. Just a little pressure and it would all be over. But then something happened. She heard her brother's voice in her head. A memory from years ago. They were teenagers and Sarah had gotten into a fight at school. She had beaten another student badly, even after the student had given up. David had found her after school, angry and disappointed. "Why did you keep hitting her after she stopped fighting?" he had asked. "Because she deserved it," young Sarah had answered. She was bullying smaller kids. "Maybe," David had said. "But you became the bully when you didn't stop. You became what you hated." Sarah had never forgotten those words. Now, in space with her finger on the weapons button, she heard them again. "You became what you hated." Her hands stopped. Her eyes closed. She took a deep breath. When her eyes opened, they were different. Still sad, still hurt, but also something else. Something stronger than revenge. "Cease fire," she said quietly. On her bridge, her crew looked surprised. "Captain?" Officer Rodriguez asked. "Are you sure?" "Cease fire," Sarah repeated, louder this time. "All human ships stand down. Do not fire unless fired upon." On Zrak's ship, confusion spread. They had been ready to die. Now, they weren't going to? "We're alive?" one Zauran officer whispered. Admiral Marcus studied Sarah through the screen. "Captain Chin, are you certain? No one would question your decision if you chose differently." Sarah nodded. "I'm certain, sir." She looked directly at Zrak through the screen. "Commander Zrak," she said. "You killed my brother. You killed hundreds of my people. If I destroyed you right now, it would be justice. Legal. Fair. Right." Zrak nodded. "Yes, I know. But you know what?" Sarah continued. "My brother was a better person than both of us. He believed that everyone deserved a second chance. He believed that killing only creates more killing. That revenge only creates more revenge." She paused, her voice becoming stronger. "I don't forgive you. I will never forgive you. What you did was evil and cruel. But I'm not going to kill you. Do you know why?" "No," Zrak whispered. "Because I'm not you," Sarah said firmly. "Because humans are not like the Zauran. We don't kill defenseless enemies. We don't laugh at death. We don't murder people who beg for mercy." She stood taller. "We're better than that. We're better than you." Admiral Marcus smiled slightly. Pride showed on his face. "All Zauran ships will power down completely," he ordered. "You will drift here while we scan you for hidden weapons or tricks. If you follow our instructions, you will live. You will go home. You will see your families again. But," Sarah added, her voice becoming hard as steel, "you will also deliver a message to your empire. You will tell them exactly what happened here. You will show them the recordings. You will explain that you attacked 50 ships against one, and you lost 35 of them." Zrak nodded quickly. "Yes. Yes, we will." "And you will tell your emperor something else," Sarah said. "Tell him that humans gave you mercy when we didn't have to. Tell him we let you live when we could have killed you easily. Tell him we did this not because we're weak, but because we're strong enough to choose mercy. She leaned closer to the screen. And then tell him this. If the Zauran Empire ever attacks another human ship, there will be no mercy next time. No warnings. No second chances. We will bring our entire fleet to your home world, and we will show you what happens when humans stop being kind. The threat hung in the air, heavy and real. Do you understand, Commander Zrak? Admiral Marcus asked. Yes, sir, Zrak said. For the first time he called a human sir. I understand completely. Good, Sarah said. Now go home. And never come back to human space again. 3 days later the Zauran fleet limped back toward their home space. 15 damaged ships moved slowly through the darkness. Their hulls were scarred with burn marks. Their engines barely worked. They looked like beaten animals crawling home to hide. Inside the lead ship, Commander Zrak sat alone in his quarters. The room was dark. He hadn't slept since the battle. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw human warships appearing from nowhere. He heard the explosions. He watched his fleet die. A knock on his door. Come in, Zrak said quietly. His second officer, a female Zauran named Sira, entered. She looked tired too. Her uniform was dirty, and one of her 4 eyes was bandaged from an injury during the battle. Commander, she said. We're approaching the Empire border. We'll reach the capital planet in 6 hours. Zrak nodded. How many survivors total? 3,215, Sira answered. Her voice was sad. We started with 12,000. Zrak's head dropped. Almost 9,000 Zauran warriors dead. Because of his arrogance. Because he thought humans were weak. The Empire is sending messages, Sira continued. They're demanding a full report. They want to know why we lost so many ships to one human cargo vessel. We didn't lose to one cargo vessel, Zrak said bitterly. We lost to 200 warships we never saw coming. We lost because we underestimated humans. We lost because we were fools. Sira sat down across from him. What will you tell the Emperor? The truth, Zrak said. Every terrible detail. 6 hours later, the damaged Zauran fleet entered the capital planet's orbit. The planet was called Zalroth Prime. It was beautiful, with purple oceans and red forests. Cities covered the land, full of billions of Zauran citizens. In the center of the largest city stood the Imperial Palace. It was a massive building made of black stone and metal. Towers reached into the sky. Guards stood everywhere, protecting the Emperor. Inside the palace throne room, Emperor Vakros sat on his throne. He was old, maybe 100 years in Zauran counting. His skin was darker gray than most Zaurans. His 4 eyes were sharp and intelligent. He wore robes of deep red with gold symbols showing his rank. Around him stood his military council. 12 high commanders, each responsible for different parts of the Zauran military. They wore armor decorated with medals and honors from past battles. Bring in Commander Zrak, Emperor Vakros ordered. The massive doors opened. Zrak walked in, his head low. He looked small and defeated. Behind him, Sira and 2 other surviving commanders followed. The throne room was enormous. Their footsteps echoed on the polished floor. As Zrak walked, he passed statues of famous Zauran warriors. Heroes who had won great battles. He felt their stone eyes judging him. He was no hero. He was a failure. Zrak stopped before the throne and knelt. Your Imperial Majesty. Rise, Commander, the Emperor said. His voice was cold. And explain to me how you lost 35 warships to humans. Zrak stood. His legs felt weak, but he forced himself to stand straight. Your Majesty, he began. We followed the plan. We surrounded a human cargo ship. One ship, old and slow, carrying medical supplies. Yes, Emperor Vakros said. That was the plan. A simple ambush. 50 ships against one. How did it fail? Because, Your Majesty, the cargo ship was bait. The humans knew we would attack. They planned for it. They wanted us to attack. Murmurs spread through the council. The commanders looked at each other with concern. Explain, the Emperor demanded. Zrak took a deep breath. The humans have new technology. Stealth warships. They can become completely invisible to our scanners. 200 of these ships were following the cargo vessel. We never detected them. Not once. Impossible, said General Throck, the oldest military commander. Our scanners are the best in the galaxy. Nothing can hide from them. That's what I thought too, General, Zrak said quietly. I was wrong. The human ships hid in plain sight. When we surrounded their cargo ship, we thought we had won. But we were already surrounded ourselves. The trap closed around us and we never saw it coming. Emperor Vakros leaned forward. Show me the recordings. Zrak nodded to Sira. She activated a holographic projector in the center of the room. Images appeared in the air, showing the battle from beginning to end. The council watched in silence. They saw the messenger alone in space. They saw 50 Zauran ships surrounded. They saw Zrak's threatening message. Then they saw what happened next. 200 human warships appearing from nothing. Space itself seemed to give birth to them. One moment, empty darkness. The next moment, a massive fleet. By the gods, whispered General Mora, a female commander. So many ships. The recording continued. It showed the human admiral's message. It showed Krell firing missiles against orders. It showed those missiles hitting the messenger's shields and doing nothing. Then it showed the counterattack. The council watched their ships explode. One after another. Quick, efficient, merciless. The human weapons were devastating. Zauran shields collapsed like paper. Zauran hulls cracked like eggs. 8 minutes of battle. 35 Zauran ships destroyed. 0 human casualties. When the recording ended, the throne room was completely silent. The council members looked sick. Some were pale. Others had fear in their eyes. Emperor Vakros's face showed no emotion, but his hands gripped the armrests of his throne tightly. Continue, he said quietly. Zrak swallowed hard. After the battle, the humans could have destroyed us completely. We were defenseless. Our weapons couldn't touch their shields. We tried to surrender, but one of my officers, he fired missiles anyway. Idiot, General Throck muttered. Yes, sir. The humans destroyed his ship immediately. Then some of our other ships panicked and attacked. The humans responded with overwhelming force. By the end, we had lost 35 ships. Another 10 were so damaged they'll never fly again. And the humans? The Emperor asked. Not one scratch, Your Majesty. Not one casualty. Their shields held against everything we had. Their weapons cut through our defenses like they weren't there. The Emperor stood up from his throne. He walked down the steps slowly, his robes trailing behind him. He stopped in front of Zrak. You lost 9,000 warriors, the Emperor said softly. 9,000 of my people. Because you underestimated the humans. Yes, Your Majesty, Zrak admitted. I did. We all did. What happened after the battle? The human captain. Her name is Sarah Chin. She chose to spare us. Spare you? General Mora sounded surprised. Why? She said. Zrak paused, remembering. She said humans are better than us. She said they don't kill defenseless enemies. They gave us mercy we didn't deserve. Sira stepped forward. Your Majesty, if I may speak? The Emperor nodded. The human captain, Sarah Chin, we killed her brother 6 months ago. We destroyed his transport ship even after he surrendered. She had every right to kill us all. Her own military gave her permission. But she chose mercy anyway. The council members looked at each other. This was unexpected. She also gave us a message to deliver, Zrak continued. She said to tell you that humans let us live not because they're weak, but because they're strong enough to choose mercy. Emperor Vakros returned to his throne and sat down heavily. And, he prompted. And she said if we ever attack another human ship, there will be no mercy next time. They'll bring their entire fleet to Zalroth Prime and show us what happens when humans stop being kind. The threat hung in the air. Everyone in the throne room understood what it meant. If humans could destroy 35 ships with just 200 warships, what could they do with their entire military? General Throck spoke up. Your Majesty, with respect, this might be propaganda. Perhaps their technology isn't as good as they claim. Perhaps we caught them on a lucky day. Lucky. Zrak turned to face the general. His voice was sharp. General, I watched our best ships explode like toys. I watched our strongest shields fail in seconds. I watched human weapons move faster than our sensors could track. That wasn't luck. That was superiority. Commander Zrak is right, said General Mora. I've studied the recordings carefully. The humans have technology we don't understand. Weapons we can't match. And most important. She paused. They have something we lack. Discipline. Strategy. They planned this operation perfectly. They knew we would attack. They were ready. We walked into their trap like children. Emperor Vakros was quiet for a long moment. His 4 eyes moved from one council member to another, reading their faces. Finally he spoke. Send a message to all Zauran military forces. Immediately. All ships, all stations, all commanders. Yes, Your Majesty, a communications officer responded. What should the message say? Emperor Vakros stood again. His voice became loud and clear. filling the entire throne room. Human ships and human space are now forbidden territory. Any Zauran vessel that attacks a human will be considered a traitor and will be executed by their own fleet. Human merchants may travel through our space safely. Any Zauran who threatens them will face my personal judgment. The council gasped. This was a complete reversal of policy. But Your Majesty, General Throck protested, this makes us look weak. The other empires will think. I don't care what they think, the Emperor's voice boomed. I care about survival. We picked a fight with a species we didn't understand. We thought they were weak traitors. We were wrong. Catastrophically wrong. He pointed at the holographic image still frozen in the air, showing human warships. Look at that fleet. Look at those weapons. Now imagine if they bring not 200 ships but 2,000. 10,000. They could burn our worlds to ash and we couldn't stop them. Your Majesty is wise, Sira said, bowing. Emperor Vakros turned to Zrak. You made a terrible mistake, Commander. You cost us 9,000 lives. Normally, I would have you executed for such failure. Zrak bowed his head. I understand, Your Majesty. I accept whatever punishment you decide. But, the Emperor continued, you also learned an important lesson. And you were honest enough to deliver their message without trying to hide our defeat. So instead of execution, you have a new mission. Zrak looked up, surprised. You will travel to every Zauran military base. Every fleet. Every training academy. You will tell them this story. You will show them these recordings. You will make sure every Zauran warrior understands. Humans are not prey. They are predators pretending to be prey. Yes, Your Majesty, Zrak said. I will make sure everyone knows. Good. Now go. All of you. Leave me. The commanders and council members bowed and left the throne room. Zrak was the last to leave. As he reached the door, the Emperor called out. Commander Zrak. Zrak turned. Thank the human captain for me, Emperor Vakros said quietly. Thank her for showing us that mercy is not weakness. It's the most powerful weapon of all. Zrak nodded and left. Emperor Vakros sat alone on his throne, staring at the frozen holographic image of human warships. We were hunting lions, he whispered to himself, and we thought they were sheep. 2 months later, Earth. Captain Sarah Chin stood in a quiet cemetery on a hill overlooking the ocean. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. A soft wind blew through the trees. It was peaceful here. Come. In front of her was a simple gravestone made of white marble. On it were carved the words, David Chin 2302-2325 beloved son, brother, friend. He believed in the best of everyone. Sarah knelt down and placed a small bouquet of blue flowers on the grave. Blue had been David's favorite color. Hey little brother, she said quietly. Sorry I haven't visited in a while. I've been busy. The wind blew softly. Sarah imagined it was David's way of saying he understood. I did something 2 months ago, she continued. Something you would have been proud of. Or maybe mad about. I'm not sure. She sat down on the grass, her back against the gravestone. The Zaurans surrounded my ship. Just like they surrounded you. They threatened us. They laughed at us. They thought we were weak. Sarah closed her eyes, remembering. I had 200 warships hidden around them. I could have destroyed them all. I wanted to, David. I wanted to make them pay for what they did to you. A tear rolled down her cheek. My finger was on the button. One press and they would all be dead. Justice for you. Justice for everyone they killed. She opened her eyes and looked at the ocean. But then I remembered what you told me when we were kids. About not becoming what we hate. About being better than our enemies. She smiled sadly. So I let them go. I gave them mercy they didn't deserve. And you know what? It worked better than revenge ever could have. Sarah stood up and touched the gravestone gently. The Zauran Empire called off all their attacks. They declared human space forbidden territory. No more ambushes. No more murders. You're the last human they'll ever kill, David. Because I chose to be like you instead of like them. The sun touched the horizon, half disappeared into the ocean. I hope that makes you